Thanks for tuning into our podcast. We love having you here, and it's our mission to bring you all the latest and greatest tips, skills, and know-how to make you the best that you can be. We know that you have it in you, and we're going to show you how. Now, let's get started.
This is the host of Library by Omobola Stephen. My name is Omobola Stephen. On Library by Omobola Stephen, we want to focus on personal development and self-improvement, occasioning expert and professionals who are hardest in these topics. Now, personal development and self-improvement is a lifelong process that we must all need to embrace in order for us to transform from where we are to where we need to be. This is the transformative kind of discussion that we need to be having, especially at this age and time. Today, I have Paul Zolman, who is a love language linguist and also an author on Library by Omobola Stephen. Hi, Paul. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Omobola. So glad to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
Thanks for joining me. We'll be talking about love language. And now I know that you're an expert in this regard, and I'm looking forward to a great time. Paul, what qualifies you to speak on love?
There's a lot of things that can qualify anybody to speak about love, but the true author of love is God himself. He's the one that created it. And the qualifications I have is that I have tried to learn a lot about love only through adversity in my life. I've had clouds in my life, and we know that the clouds make the very best sunrises, the very best sunsets. And these clouds kind of have a silver lining to me right now. I was raised in a family of abuse, but from that, I was able to see what I did not want in my family first, to finally see what I do want in my family. And from that contrast, was able to develop something that actually worked for me. From that childhood of abuse, I had a lot of pent-up anger, a lot of anger that was a residual from the abuse as a child and even into adulthood for a long time. And I found myself saying that I don't want to be angry. And it was kind of a double negative there. And double negatives in relationships, unlike in math, don't make a positive. They don't. If you multiply two negatives in math, it becomes a positive number. It doesn't work like that in a relationship. And I found that out, unfortunately, through many things, through a failed marriage, for one, and then through people that would try to help me understand more about relationships, and I wasn't having any of it. One of such person was my sister-in-law. I was dating after that first failed marriage. I was dating and took this woman for my big brother approval. I'm number 10 of 11 children. So I took this woman up to my big brother's house, and first thing that happened is my sister-in-law pulled her aside and said, the only emotion that the Zolman family learned growing up was anger. At first I said, denied it. And then it made me mad. And I thought, if it's still making me mad, we still have the anger, it's still the perception of the family. I thought, I have an opportunity here. Right there and then, I decided I'm not going to let that be something that's passed on to my children or to the next generation. I have an opportunity to change this right now, and I believe it was generational. My father had the same issue. My grandfather possibly had the same issue, and who knows how far back it went, that it was passed on through the generations, not genetically, just passed on more generationally. And so I realized that I needed to do something about it. Started reading the color code and then the 5 love languages. And I really liked the principles of the 5 love languages because Dr. Chapman in that book said that the 5 love languages reconcile to the life of Jesus Christ. And we'll talk about that just in a minute, but I thought that's kind of what the direction I wanted to go. I'm Christian and I wanted to do that. And so I wanted to move in that direction to be a better person. I realized that anger is not on a very good side of the stick or side of the spectrum. I wanted to go to the other side of the spectrum. And so as I read the book, I really didn't get it. And just remember where I came from. I came from an abusive childhood. And so knowing what love is at that point in time wasn't in my wheelhouse. It wasn't something that I really realized or knew anything about. But Dr. Chapman says, well, if Omobola, if I guess what your love language is, and I cater to that, then we're going to be buddies. I'm a bad guesser. That's really not going to happen. It's not going to work out for you or me that way. Second thing was Dr. Chapman says, well, if I take a personality or that test to find out what my primary love language is, then I thought, well, what am I supposed to do with that? I was single at the time, so I didn't have anybody to tell about that. But if I did tell somebody, I said, well, hello, Omobola. I'm gifts. What do you have for me today? That's my love language. Do you want to love me today? And it was just really kind of an awkward situation. Who's going to talk like that anyway? Who's going to say, what do you have for me today? I mean, it did not work for me. So I contacted Dr. Chapman and I said, are you licensing those icons? Because what my idea was that as a family, even as dysfunctional as we were as a family, I thought, well, maybe I can make it a game, make it fun. We liked games as a family growing up, and it brought our family together. Maybe that is something that would work with us. And his attorney wrote back and said, no, we're not licensing the icons. So I went to an attorney close by to where I live, an intellectual property attorney, a copyright attorney, and the attorney said that theory is not copyrightable, but application is. So I decided to make my own little icons, and then I made it into a game. And this is what it looks like. What I'm holding up for the listeners is a dice that's about 1 inch by 1 inch. On the dice, I've got an icon or a picture of words, a representation of the words. It's a heart made out of the hands, and then out of the heart, there's a conversation fly out. That's what it looks like. I've turned the dice. Now it's holding an hourglass, that little hand holding an hourglass. The hourglass represents time. So that's the representation of spending time with people that you love. Now I've turned it. I've got someone that's possibly in a restaurant holding up a platter. That actually is a representation of service, or like the servers in a restaurant, serving one another. The next icon is two hands that are touching. Obviously, that's touch, that like physical touch. And then the last one is the gifts, and it's a picture of a present on sitting on the hand as well. So 5 love languages, 6 sides on the dice. The last side is a hand holding a question mark, and this is what I call surprise me. So Omobola, there's just 2 instructions. You roll the die every day. That's the love language you practice giving away all day that day, without any expectation of it coming back. So in Dr. Chapman's book, he has people that are there and with their significant other, giving that love away, giving the love away that they want, because most people know how to give away the love that they want to come back. Talks about a little bit about the reciprocity there, about sending out what you want to come back. And it's almost like the law of attraction in that way. I see that as a transaction, and it's different than what I'm proposing right now. Just wanted to delineate that difference, saying you're actually giving away all 5 love languages to everybody, not just their significant other. In addition to that, you're giving it away without any expectation that it's coming back, but trusting it's the law of attraction. It's the law of the harvest. Someday it might come back. You just don't know. And you don't even have to watch for it. You don't have to expect it coming back, but someday it will. So those are the 2 differences there. By doing this, Omobola, over a 30-day period, you become very familiar with all the love languages. You know them backwards and forwards. That's the best part about that, is you can see it when it comes your way and respond appropriately. Most people, back to their primary love language, most people can only see their primary love language as love, and then they say everything else is, well, that's nice, or something. They'll say something like that. They may not see it as love and respond appropriately, but I see it differently. I see it as, oh, that they're loving on me. It's not my primary love language, but I can see they're trying to love me. I can respond appropriately to that. And so
Right.
it's,
Now, Paul, sorry to cut you there. Going back to your earlier statement, talking about reciprocity and you giving love and they know returning back to you. I would like us to quickly talk about um, childhood trauma, right? Which you also had an experience about. How we can move from this trauma, especially this abuse, now to a more loving relationships, because I think it's also very important for us to also learn to accept ourselves, love ourselves, before we can begin to give it out to others. And now, giving it to others, we are not expecting anything in return because at this point we are already giving it out from a place of healing. And can you just share a bit on that?
yeah. And so let's start from the place of trauma. That if you're feeling depressed or you're feeling down about something or other, it's really, you're looking inward and you're looking about yourself. The best remedy for that is look outward. And to the best way to do that is that the mindset that I have is that I believe that no matter about how bad I feel, there's always someone out there that feels worse. And go find that person and lift them up. Not only is that going to lift you up out of your depression, out of your trauma, but it's going to help them. If you help them, then they might pass that on and like pay it forward. They might pass that on to their people within their circle of influence as well. You can always find someone that is lower, someone is that feeling worse than you are, that you can lift up, or someone that's just feeling down and out. If you try to help them feel better about themselves, then you're going to feel better about yourself too. And the problem with that self-pity is what I call it, Omobola, and it's real. It's absolutely real. But the problem with that is that I think Dr. Chapman in his book almost created a circumstance for that unintentionally. Because if I tell you what my love language is, and you tell me what your love language is, and then I don't perform, I don't give it to you, you're going to get this little whiny voice that says, well, I told you how to love me. How come you're not loving me? How come you're not sending it my way? And so to avoid all that pity party, we stay in our lane. We don't have any control over what other people do or the choices that other people make. But we do have control over the love that we send out and our reactions to the love that comes to us. I think that if you stay in your lane and you'll understand that, you forget about the trauma, forget about what somebody else did, which you had no control of their choice. Try to forget about what somebody else did. Try to think about, what am I going to do? Now, what am I going to do about this? How am I going to be? What is my character going to be? And while you're doing that, you're going to forget that. Let me just interject here that as I'm rolling the die, see, my problem was trying to overcome this anger, trying to disrupt that, so to speak, that anger pattern that I had of stacking, just being annoyed on top of that, annoyed, and quit stacking that and flashing at the end. I'm trying to overcome that. So what I needed at that moment was an alternate behavior rather than the mental exercise of trying to say that I don't want to do that or say I want to do something else. Just absolutely doing something else in the place of that. So instead of looking at what's wrong with people and going down that critical path, what I found myself doing was saying, what's right with that person? What can I love about that person? And disrupting that negative approach to life to making it more positive and actually magnifying with, like a magnifying glass, magnifying what's right about that person so that will grow. If you focus on people's mistakes and their faults, those are going to grow. Who wants that? Who wants it to be bigger than, if you're complaining about it now, why would you focus on it to make it even bigger so that you complain later? Who wants that? I mean, just think about that. If you think about it, you would disrupt that thought process and do something different. So that loving thought process is what disrupted. I was so busy doing that, I didn't ever go back to the other behavior of stacking annoyances, because I realized I'm in my own lane. I'm doing what I'm doing. People will do different things. They'll make their different choices. It's not my job to monitor that.
Absolutely. Now, for the five love languages, do I have to give all to my partner and still be able to receive same back? Now, we talk about that, still talking about reciprocity. But really, your system helps people to learn all the five love languages to give them away. What kind of transformation can a person expect from this? Because I emphasize transformation. You giving love all the love away, and then you're not receiving anything back in return as you've intended. What are the transformation that a person hopes to get from this step?
I think probably part of the myth, Omobola, is that if we give it away, we will lose it. We won't have any more to give. And I think that's really a myth. It really is, because I love the song from Rodgers and Hammerstein in The Sound of Music, where Rolf is singing to the young lady in the window, and part of the song says, "Love in the heart wasn't put there to stay. Love isn't love till it's given away." And I think that whatever those feelings are that we have in our heart, as we give it away, where we're rewarded is when people light up. When they light up, it's like bingo. You may have hit their primary love language. You take a mental note of that. That's what lit that person up. That's what you can wash, rinse, repeat, do it over and over again. And you get a reward for making someone else's day. You've made them happier. You've helped them have a better day. They'll contact their circle of influence and also pass on good things that way. If anger is just the opposite. Anger is like spreading misery, and you send it out, it's going to come back full force and probably even greater back to you, and you're making their day miserable, and they're going to make the days of people around them a lot more miserable. Love's a better choice. And so I think that, to answer your question, I think that we really need to give it away to everyone. And that's a change here too. Of my philosophy is that it's not just your significant other, because your significant other is not around you all day long. Most people don't have that. So it means you've got to go out and do things other places. So if you carry that love with you and do it to everybody, then you've kind of got this stability of character. If you do it only for your significant other, there'll be times that you'll forget, because you'll think, oh, I'm at work, I don't have to love. Or I'm at play, or I'm driving on the road, I don't have to love. And you're just maybe thinking those things, or subconsciously thinking, I'm not with my significant other, so I don't have to love. It seemed like a part-time job to me. I created this when I was single. I didn't have anybody else to talk to. I could send it out to everybody. And so as an experiment, I did it to everybody. And it actually works out a lot better. It helps provide that stability for yourself, that stability of character, that you are a loving person all day long, always.
Absolutely. I thank you, Paul Zolman, for that insight. Now, talking about mental health, what are the mental health professionals? What are they saying about this system or project?
Mental health professionals,
That's right.
The first reference in the book, or the first recommendation in the book, actually was from a mental health specialist. And that mental health person is somebody that I met with in March of last year. And I had the die at the time. I had the die all copyright and everything. And I showed the die, and he said that you really need to write a book about that. And it needs to be something along the love languages of Gary Chapman, but kind of an update of the philosophy, an update of make it more simplified. This is a very simple thing. 2 seconds to roll the die. That's what you practice all day. Just those 2 instructions makes it super simple to do. Most people may think that it's so simple that it won't work, but it does, because you'll notice on the die it's all pictures. Those pictures kind of burn into your mind, if I say the word elephant, you're not seeing the letters ELEPHNT. You're seeing the animal in your mind. The same with this. As you roll a die in the morning, you'll remember what you rolled in the morning. And I think mental health professionals like that idea that between your visits, they have to have something. The patients need to have something to do every single day to correct the mental health deficiency or the mental health issues that they're having. And this is exactly that. This is every day that you're doing something to help change your mindset to get to a different place. I like to compare it to a stick. I found this stick the other day. It has no bark on it. It's kind of like a walking stick. On one side, it's just very smooth and very nice. On the other side of the stick, it's got some points here, some places where there may have been twigs or something. But it's kind of what I call the naughty side of the stick. So it's a naughty and nice stick. I'm sure Santa Claus has a stick just like that, Omobola, naughty and nice. That's how he determines who gets presents or not, right? So as I realized that anger is on that naughty side of the stick, I thought in my mind, what would be the opposite of that? And then I realized love's on the other end of the stick. So when you understand what the spectrum is, and this is all about mental health and what the mental health professionals are seeing, is that when to have any progress in mental health, you've got to understand where you are on that spectrum. Are you on the naughty side of the spectrum? Are you on the nice side of the spectrum? Where are you? There's three choices. You can stay where you're at, and the way you stay where you're at is you blame other people for your problem. That way you don't have to change. You stay put right where you're at. Second choice is that you can go to the left, become more angry, or you can go to the right and become more loving. So once I realized where I was in that spectrum, and my sister-in-law, when I took that woman to my big brother's house, she really identified where our family was at on that stick. We had an angry culture. When you have an angry culture, part of that's angry words, angry humor, and unkind things that you say just in jest. And even if it's in jest, it's still biting. It's everything bites when you've got that angry culture. On the other end of the spectrum are the love languages and the loving words and the kind humor and the thoughtfulness. The kindness is all on that. So it's two different cultures, two absolutely different cultures. You got to find out where you're on the spectrum, is what mental health people are saying, and then move in the right direction, move toward where you want to be.
Appreciate your thoughts once again, Paul Zolman. Do you have any projects or exciting news you'd like to share with my audience?
I am working on an app. It'll be an app on the phone where you can push a button. It'll roll the die for you. It'll give you some suggestions of what you could do that day. It'll also have a journal entry type thing where you'll be able to record what you rolled that day, what opportunities you saw to love in that way, what you did about those opportunities. I have it in paper format right now, but I'll put it in an app format, and then it'll have some quotes from some famous people that have said nice things about love, about how it really changes the world. Nelson Mandela, Mother Teresa, several others that have said anything about love. I've got several quotes that we'll insert into that app. Something that people carry their phones around all the time right now. This would be something that they would have immediate access to if they download the app. So that's
Absolutely. I wish you great news you've got here, Paul. I wish you best of luck in the project and also in subsequent ones.
Thank you very much.
Paul, talking about love, that was a good one there. Do you have any parting words you'd like to share with the audience?
I do. There's several nice words that we get from the Sanskrit dialect in northern India. We get nirvana from them. We get karma from them. But the word I want to talk about today that we get from them is called namaste. Namaste is something that people say after a yoga class. And they bow their head, and then the class is over. It doesn't really mean class is over, let's get out of here. doesn't mean that at all. The Hindu people actually have a definition that I love about it, that it says, the God in me sees the God in you, or the divine in me sees the divine in you. And that's what this is all about. That's what rolling the die is for. That's what the love languages are for. What is there about you that I can love? What is there that's divine about you? And then just expressing that. Some people can't even see it themselves. So when we express it to them, that is what lights them up. And that's what we're here to do. We're here to disrupt that rage that's out there. We're here to disrupt all that anger. Let's do it with love.
Absolutely. Good to know that. Thanks for the motivation. Like to share your social media handles and your website.
Sure. The website is rolloflove.com, ROLE of love.com. It's kind of a play on words. You actually ROLL, the die, but that's outside of you. The change within comes with the word roll, ROLE of love. So Roll of Love is the name of the book. Rolloflove.com is the name of the website. You can get the book, the journal, and the dice for much less than just even one mental health therapy session. The cost is much less.
Good to know. Thanks once again, Paul Zolman, for your time on the show. I wish you best of luck once again in all the projects that you embark upon.
Thank you very much, Omobola. It's been a pleasure to be with you today.
All right. The pleasure is mine. Now, if you'd like to catch up with any missed episodes of Library by Omobola Stephen, you can catch up on any course promotion platforms or any podcast distribution platforms you bump into online, and do have a great time listening to expert and professionals share disruptive mindshift conversations on topics and subjects on the personal development and self-improvement. Now, I need you to stay safe, I talk soon.